5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. So this is the podcast where my co-host and I listen to all the Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts from the previous week. We get together here at our gracious podcast host, BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery, and give our version of the truth of how those podcasts went. Now, hopefully, there aren't too many consequences from the hosts of the other podcasts, and so far so good.
Doing all right.
Yeah. I am Marco. I'm a brewer and a bartender here locally, and that voice you heard is about to be introduced because they are the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
And to introduce myself, I am Julia, and I am a drinker of all of the craft beers here in Cincinnati, and I am also the
best co-host in Podcastlandia.
And the best co-host in Podcastlandia. I am also known to write funny parodies of songs about the Beer Vent beers for Beer Vent, which Beer Vent season, the sales of the Beer Vent box from Higher Gravity are happening right now. If you have not gone to Higher Gravity Craft House, HAUS.com to pre-order your Beer Vent box, I don't know what's wrong with you. Do it now. Boxes should be ready. I believe they're going to try to have them ready the week before Thanksgiving to pick up.
Okay.
Order them, pick them up, and then follow us on social media at Truth Beer Pod to see all of the funny and maybe not so funny things that I post about them.
Yes, and thank you to all of you who have been with us now over a year now. I truly appreciate your listenership, and if you're new to the pod, welcome. And I hope you like what you hear, and whether you do or don't, please share the show with everyone that you know. That is how we grow. You know, no craft beer podcast would be a good craft beer podcast without
craft beer. Absolutely.
So, Julia, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a Rhinegeist Antelope, which is their amber. It is 5%, and it is really, really good, and it is perfect for another ridiculously humid 90-some-odd degree day here in Cincinnati.
The humidity is just ridiculous.
Ridiculous. If only producer Brian would close the garage door.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, well, Marco, what do you have in your glass? Something equally refreshing, I believe?
Yeah, I have West Side Brewing's Oktoberfest.
Awesome. I love that beer. I'll probably do that one next.
Okay.
How is it?
Hold on, let's see.
Give it a little sippy.
Yep, it's an Oktoberfest. I think I had it last week, didn't I?
Yeah, we both did.
Yeah. So
we both enjoyed it. It's
actually as good as it was last week.
Good. Very good. Consistency is key.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. And I will also say, to be consistent, to do a little housekeeping before we start the meat of the show. If you do like what we do, and you're not going to know until the end, but I'm going to throw this out there now, at Truth Beer Pod, if you want to follow us on the social media platforms, truthbeerpod@gmail.com. If you want to send us an email, all our episodes are on YouTube, so follow us there at Truth Beer Pod. If you have any complaints about the show, at Raging Hop, which, funnily enough, about Raging Hop, Our podcast host location is being infiltrated tonight.
Yeah.
By another local craft beer podcast.
If I had a bottle cap, I could hit him in the head.
Oh,
with
if you had a bottle cap gun?
I could.
You could just.
That's right. If I had a bottle cap gun.
We have dry erase markers. I bet you anything we could fling these across BC's. And
I bet I could hit him.
I bet. This is starting off great. And if you'd like to monetarily donate to the show so that we can continue to buy beers and to get some better equipment, because according to the Gnarly Gnome, our headphones suck and we would like to get new ones, truthbeerpod.com has a nice big blue support us link, so we would really appreciate a couple bucks if you want to throw it our way.
Yes, we truly would. A lot of things we want to do moving in the future, and all of them
require money.
All of them require money, and so far, it's just been. We have had a wonderful support.
Oh my God! Yes.
And by wonderful support, I mean the funds that have come in. Mm-hmm. We've truly appreciated, and everyone who's supported us in that way, we truly appreciate and thank you.
And not even funds, but Block Spiked Ice. They sponsored us for our 1-year anniversary show.
Yes.
They're amazing. Their product is amazing. This is not a sponsored episode, so this is 100% Marco and I's own opinion on it. It's delicious. It's awesome. It's great in beer. It's great by itself. It's great. A lime blocks in a Sprite makes the perfect summer beverage if you're looking for a bit of a kick to what you have. So definitely support them. They're another local business, and we like to support local as much as we can. So
yeah. And at some point, we'll have Stephanie from Blocks on to.
I hope so. She was awesome.
Participate.
She was amazing
in the pod. And I'm repping Blocks, my Blocks shirt today. So.
Mine's in the wash because I wore it this weekend. Otherwise, I would be repping as well.
We're waving at.
I'm getting a one
Shift Beers.
I'm getting a 1-finger salute from the button himself.
That's telling us we're number one.
It is number one. Hey,
number one.
You know what? I'm not flipping them off. I'm making a hand unicorn for them.
Oh, well, wonderful.
And it's great. It's absolutely great. So, to try to kind of rein us back in, this is a show about Cincinnati craft beer podcasts, much like the one that's recording directly opposite of us. So, Marco, did you listen to any Cincinnati craft beer podcasts this past week?
I did.
All right. Did you happen to listen to, and I'll throw them out first since they're right across from us, Shift Beers?
Yes, I did.
Awesome. How about Cincy Brewcast?
Yes.
Very good. And the only other one that was released this week before our podcast cutoff time, the Craft Parenting Podcast.
I did.
Awesome. What would you like to start with first?
You know what? It's as of recent when they have put out a pod that is in our pod sphere. I've been picking Craft Parenting Pod, so I want to stick with it.
All right, it's been working out, so might as well. Let's get started. Craft Parenting Podcast. This was actually a bonus episode for them.
Yep.
Episode 70.5, the one with the Pilsner beers. Now, I will say, I do think that when they recorded this episode, they had already had more than a few, because it sounded like they were having a good time. And some of the facts that they were trying to recap when they did the more educational piece about Pilsners may or may not have...
Seemed a little bit more like we were recapping.
But it was awesome. It was another really, really fun episode. We found out that Joe is a podcast slave master. Like, he's pretty much been cracking the whip. Caroline,
right.
We need to record episode after episode after episode.
Right.
And Caroline,
Caroline.
It's like, but Joe, I'm tired. I've been wrangling the kids all day. Can we just drink a beer and not record a podcast? And Joe apparently is just like, no. We have content. We have idea.
Like a 4.
Yes.
You know, not taking it to 11.
What he's doing is he's saying we need to do this, but then he's also bribing her with beer. Like, hey, honey, I will pour your beer for you.
Right.
If you just sit down here next to this microphone and let's just get something going. So it's okay. It's okay.
He's trying to prep her for when he's trying to share some of these beer vent calendar beers.
Oh my God, yeah. He wants the beer vent beer. So the last Craft Parenting podcast that we recapped, there was some contention about how they were going to divvy up the higher gravity beer vent calendar beers. Joe was thinking, I get one day, Caroline gets another day. And Caroline was thinking, well, why don't we just share both beer,
right.
Between the
just
two,
share
split
everything.
Each beer.
That's the way they are. That's the relationship. They just share everything.
I don't know what they finally decided upon, but if you listen to their show and they sound a little tense, it could be because of beer vent.
Could be.
So they still have a couple months to figure things out. I'm sure they will. I'm sure it's going to be great. But I don't know, Joe. Forcing Caroline to make podcasts is not the way to get her to agree to let you have every other day's beer as a whole.
Yeah, I don't think
you may end up sharing those. Let's see. What do I have first? Joe sent Caroline out to get a single 6-pack of a Pilsner to drink for the show. And she's like me. She is
smart.
A woman of my own heart, absolutely.
Yeah.
And she came back with 10 6-packs
Boom.
Of Pilsner beers. Now,
genius.
They only covered 4 of those on this show.
Real ladies of genius.
You know, they missed an opportunity with that whole advertisement series by not including women of genius in all of that.
Yeah.
Just saying, just throwing it out there. Let's see. So to run down the list of the 4 different Pilsners that they drank during this show, And they were splitting them, but my God, they still, like I said, it sounded like they had a few beforehand, so you're going to enjoy this episode.
Them.
Good for them, absolutely. Have fun. As long as everything's taken care of, good for them. They had a beer from Trogs, from High Grain, from Brink, and from Fretboard. And it sounded like during the entire time, Caroline was literally looking at Joe through beer goggles.
That's the way it sounded.
Well, she actually said that she held up a glass and was like, I can see you.
Oh, yeah, she did.
I can see you through this Pilsner because of how clear it is.
Joe,
so,
I can see you through this.
Oh, my.
She wasn't quite that
sounded
deep.
almost, I was going to say.
She wasn't quite that deep. She wasn't like...
That almost sounded threatening, and Caroline never sounded threatening about what she was saying to Joe. But she was definitely looking at him through literal beer goggles, which was great. They did what they do in a lot of their episodes about a specific beer style is they went to the wikipedia.orgs and they gave you the history of that beer style, how it came about, some of the like bigger events that happened surrounding that style, such as beer being poured into the streets in front of a city hall.
Yep.
Our Pilsners are when they made this in Pilsen, copying Cincinnati due to the years, the day ranges that they happened, which was really cool to hear. So that's definitely something that you guys need to listen to in this episode to find out.
It's kind of crazy that the public just went, this beer is bullshit. And then it's just like, I'm just dumping it right in the street.
Right. And then it turns out that it's one of the best beer styles out there. Like it is one of the pinnacle brewery creations because of how pure it is, if that's kind of my words, not anyone else's. So it's take that with a grain of salt, but it is a very crisp. I don't want to call it a standard beer, but it is a flagship pinnacle beer. Like it's not something that, aside from the recent trend of kind of like dry hopping, stuff like that, it hasn't changed much. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great style.
Right?
Yeah. Good.
You know, it's one of those, I mean, for beer styles, I mean, there's more than 4. I mean, in 10 poles, so
depends on how big your tent is.
4 tent poles holding really the whole thing up, right? That's what you call tent pole. But in beer styles, there's more than just 4. But this is one of those major ones, for lack of a better term, that we can say tent pole. But it is to the point where it's so important. Everyone got so pissed off and just dumped all this beer, and then they all came together as a society and said, okay, well, we need to do this shit right then.
Agreed. So they also let people know that October 4th is Pilsner Day. So on October 4th,
if it was a Tuesday, that'd be awesome.
If it's a Tuesday, okay. So Marco and I are both getting our calendars out. So you keep talking, Marco.
So everybody, no, it's not
Sunday.
It's a Sunday.
Oh no, I'm looking at September because I don't know. So October 4th.
Is it a Tuesday?
Pilsner Day's on a Tuesday.
Pilsner Day's on a Tuesday.
We are gonna
pitted on Pilsners.
Pilsners with blocks. Fuck yes.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God, we're doing this. It's everyone. Happening. So everyone, put on your calendars, depending on your work schedule, what you're doing.
Don't care.
You need to block off Tuesday. Either take the day off or just kill out everything past like noon on Tuesday.
Correct.
Tuesday, October the 4th. You're going to crush Pilsners. You're going to put blocks in Pilsners. I can tell you from experience, strawberry and lime blocks in Pilsners are fucking amazing.
They work.
I bet the pineapple would be amazing, too.
Oh, we're going to find out.
We're going to do all the blocks in all the Pilsners. Holy shit, we're getting pitted on October 4th. Thanks to the Craft Bearing Podcast. Otherwise, we would have had no idea that Pilsner Day was upcoming. We would have missed it.
Right.
Oh, my God, that's so great. So great. Let's see this. So they covered a lot of the history about Pilsners, which was a decent chunk of the time of the episode.
Right.
And then talking about the different beers that they had. They had 4 different Pilsners, all the same style, but I think it was Joe who said it was really neat that they had 4 of the same style beers, but all of them were very, very different.
And that happens.
And how they taste. And it's awesome, right? Absolutely.
That's the way it should be. That's the way it would be regardless of if a brewery handed another brewery a recipe, a grist bill, a brew sheet, and said, "Here, make it."
Absolutely.
And that's another part of the reason why in conversation, going back, several episodes ago when we were talking about contract canning and things of that nature, why there's a process in honing something in is because the systems are different and just brewer to brewer, they're different. It's without a doubt something that is hard to replicate, but taking the time to try to do that is it's definitely, if you're gonna contract can, you have to. But if you're not, you're making your own version of whatever it is.
So this is pulling back from Craft Parenting Pod from our recap a little bit. Is there something and I'm not asking you specific, unless you know this is more like a hypothetical or into the ether question. If anyone who listens knows the answer to this, I'm genuinely really interested. When someone from, let's say, outside of Cincinnati, which we know there are several places here in the Cincinnati area that do contract brewing for other companies, other places.
Yep.
If they get a recipe from someone who is out of state, who is not used to the way that our water is, does that place provide them with, hey, we need you to do this to your water supply to make it taste the way we want?
Yeah.
Or are they just okay with, this is our main recipe, but so they would provide the water bill? I don't know what to call it. The water profile?
At its very simplest,
sense?
you could get a detailed description of the water profile by contacting, the waterworks.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And then that would vary.
Okay. But, I don't even want to call it an assumption.
Unless you're RO or reverse osmosis, if you're totally taking
stripping
and making flat
out.
water,
okay,
like clean, like 100% zero,
gotcha.
and then adding your minerals back in, which a place like Madtree does.
Sure. Well, Madtree and like the big the big macro breweries, they have multiple breweries all over, but no matter where you buy their beer, it tastes the same because they make sure that water profile.
There was a documentary from the biggest, from AB InBev, where they actually awarded one of their breweries a top medal, a top award, because they came together to each offer their product, and there were still differences between the products.
Interesting.
I forget the name.
Okay.
I forget the name of the show.
If you think of it, let me know. I'd love to check that out. That'd be awesome.
I forget the name of the show, but that's really what it was. And the only reason I watched it, and I'm not going to besmirch Big Beer, although there's plenty to do that for.
Sure.
The fact that there's still differences between even their own brand across the world, with all the technology they have, is still so fascinating to me.
That's very
cool.
And
so the competition was really interesting.
So I guess I would assume, and then we will get back to Craft Parenting Podcast and the main point of our podcast. But I guess my assumption was, and I'll just say Budweiser, just as throwing one of the big macro names out there. I guess that my assumption was you buy a case of Bud that was made closer to here, as local to here as their closest brewery, would taste exactly the same as a case that you would buy out in California, but maybe that's not necessarily the case.
They want it to be.
Okay.
But for the super tasters that they have, and
can kind of pick out,
and the heads of the different facilities, they can taste differences.
Okay, and that's cool. That's very cool. One of the things I love about doing this podcast with you is I learn so much from you, and it's amazing. But anyway, okay, Craft Parenting Podcast. Really, I only had one other note about this episode.
It's probably the same one I have.
It probably is, because we talked about this in our pre-production meeting. So, Joe, we love you. We know that you and Caroline do all kinds of research about your episodes, and it's amazing because not only do you have fun in your episodes, but you educate people in your episodes. There are always things that I learn about different beer styles from you guys that I do not know. Silverton, unless you're going by Justin from Saunders directions, It's nowhere near downtown.
No.
Nowhere near downtown Cincinnati. Ooh,
No.
Liam Neeson agrees. Was that your note as well, or did you have something
Correct.
additional?
That was my note. Nowhere near.
Though they did say...
It is near Myers Wine
It is.
Cellars.
It is, which is also not near downtown Cincinnati.
No.
I am glad to say, though, that during the Weekly Pint last night, Joe and Caroline said that they went to High Grain. They'd never been there before, so they got to experience it. So hopefully once they drove there, they realized the error of their ways in the episode that they released.
Right.
But it was a good attempt to place where the brewery is. High Grain makes phenomenal beer. Apparently, according
They
to
do.
producer Ben, their salads are amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Pre-production meeting, producer Ben, one of the reps was here.
Yeah, yeah.
And he walked up and he just, dude, your salads are banging.
I know, didn't mention the beer at all. He was just like, your salads are awesome, to which I looked over at Marco and I said, weird flex, but okay.
Right.
Which,
Correct.
if you've listened to the show long term, if you're a fan of Saunders Stories, I don't know if we're ever going to see Saunders Stories again. I need to reach out to Danny and ask what's going on with that, but I miss that podcast a lot. But
Yeah.
they are doing so many amazing things up at Sonder. I understand that time is stretched thin, but that covers my recap of Craft Parenting Podcast. And it sounds like all your boxes are checked as well, Marco?
Yes.
All
yes.
right.
My boxes are checked.
We're going to take a super quick break, and then we'll be right back to talk about, get ready, raise your glass, Marco, the Cincinnati Brewcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back, and because of that little introduction back to our show, you know what podcast we're going to be talking about now.
That's right.
It is the Cincy Brewcast with the Gnarly Gnome. And this was a really fun episode, I thought. It was a two-parter.
Yeah.
He's kind of spliced together two different topics, times, into one wonderful episode.
Uh-huh.
The episode was titled Oktoberfest and Getting Dangerous,
Yeah.
which covers two of Gnome's favorite things.
That's right.
It does. Oktoberfest beers and Danger Wheel.
It fits. It fits.
It absolutely
to have two
does.
parts. To have
Two. Not just, I mean, it was one bigger thing, like one bigger overarching thing for like the whole episode.
Right.
But then you had two individual parts kind of underneath that was, I don't want to call it propping up the main thing, but they're supporting in a way. Yeah. Very
two
cool.
things.
So the first part of this episode was all about Oktoberfest. He did another part of his Oktoberfest quest, which,
Right.
if you don't know, every year the Gnome does his own personal Oktoberfest quest to find what he feels is the best local Oktoberfest beer from local breweries. And this year he's also throwing in the option for home brewers. If there's a home brewer that makes a fest beer and merits in any Oktoberfest style and can get it to him, he's going to throw that into the bracket as well.
Right.
This year is a little bit different, and he did talk about this. He does have very specific rules for his Oktoberfest quest, which, again, it's his own opinion. He loves all of the Cincinnati breweries, so this is not any type of official, the best Oktoberfest in Cincinnati is from this brewery. It's just him having fun and enjoying his favorite beer style.
Right. And so he will, at the end, announce his winner. Mm-hmm. And that's just his favorite.
Right. And I mean, sometimes things get a little hairy when he is trying to pick a winner between the two different breweries that he has in that specific bracket. So for this episode,
he tries to trim that up, though. He tries really hard to make sure that he separates fest beers from Märzen's.
Well, but didn't he say that this year
sometimes they are going to mix?
They are going to mix. Okay,
sometimes
good.
they are going to mix.
Now, this episode, it was Rhinegeist's Franz versus 50 West's Wienermobile, which is the best name for an Oktoberfest beer that ever existed. Fight me on it. It's fine. We're not going to tell you who he picked as the winner because, I mean, the whole point of our show...
You gotta listen.
The whole point of our show is to encourage you to be curious enough about the podcasts we talk about that you go listen to them, because without them making their content, we can't make content. So if you want to know who the Gnome felt was the better of this year's Oktoberfest from Rhinegeist and 50 West, you need to listen to this episode.
It was really close. I mean, it's so close. I mean, you could shave it with a ceramic blade.
Right. I mean, it was. I don't want to say it was like splitting hairs, but there was. Okay, so knowing these two breweries, these are two breweries in Cincinnati that are very good at what they do. Mm-hmm. I'm drinking a Rhinegeist beer right now. I don't think BC's has any 50 West beers on draft
actually
right
they do,
now.
Rainbow Road.
They do have Rainbow Road. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that doesn't really fit in the Oktoberfest thing.
No, it
but
doesn't.
They are still two heavy hitters in this competition. I mean,
it swung back and forth.
It swung back and forth between which one. I mean, the color between both of them was good. The head on both of them was very good. There was a bit of a focus on which one had the better head, but he also did that on not this past week's weekly pint, but the week prior. There's a lot of head comparison.
Yeah.
Which does kind of play a factor into picking what he feels is the best Oktoberfest beer. There was a new rule about ties that he introduced in this episode that I thought was very, very interesting. Shout out to you on this one. If there is a tie between two beers that he is trying to move to the next bracket in his Oktoberfest quest for 2022, Marco is going to the Gnome Bar itself.
Yeah.
The highly coveted invite-only
Been there.
location.
Yep.
And you're going to be the one to declare the winner between the two Oktoberfest beers that he is unable to pick between. So that, I think, is going to be very interesting when I'm not going to say if it happens,
Well, you got to go through the
when
process.
it happens. Sure,
you have the two there. You grab them, hold them.
Right,
and you sniff one, sniff the other. You look at the color. You hold them up, and then you just go in and taste one, taste the other. So as I was saying, Julia, so you go in and you just get a big mouthful of one. You get that down, and then you get a big mouthful of the other, and you have to take it all in and then choose a winner. I mean, ultimately, these ties have to be broken. And
I mean, you kind of have to buzz things down. That's kind of a weird phrase, but like level by level.
Sure.
To really get to the root of which one.
You just got to hack away at it.
Right. But he was able to pick a winner for the Rhinegeist versus 50 West Oktoberfest Quest bracket. And I don't know. I haven't had either of those beers yet this year, but knowing what I know about them from having them in previous years, it was a surprise winner for me.
Yeah.
I thought that it would be the same. I don't say the same as last year because that may or may not give it away, but I don't know. It was a very good, in-depth, just like naked breakdown of the two beers. And a well-deserved winner was chosen.
What's a lot, Julia? I mean, with all these Oktoberfests out there, it's almost like just a giant forest. And then what happens is you start hacking away at it, and you get down to the bushes. And then when you trim away all the bushes, in the end, that one that's left standing, it looks so much bigger.
All right. Well, so that I think covers everything about the first part of his episode for the Oktoberfest Quest section. Before we get into really part 2 of this episode of okay, let's do it. The Cincinnati Brewcast.
Okay, let's drink.
Let's do it.
Let's go ahead and let's freshen up and get right into. I mean, after taking a moment to freshen up, get right into the second part.
Correct. Now, what I would love to say, and I'm really excited for the Gnome. And hopefully, like, all the numbers are hit.
Yeah.
He had between Oktoberfest Quest and into the second part of the episode, which was all filmed live at Danger Wheel.
Yeah.
A show sponsor segment.
Yes, he did.
This episode and kind of going forward for the foreseeable future, I guess it's fair to say. He does have a sponsor, potential sponsor. We all need
a big sponsor. Big sponsor,
yeah. We need to do our part to ensure that his sponsorship of this brand continues. We want you to listen to find out who the sponsor is. But I thought what he did to kind of bridge the gap between the Oktoberfest Quest segment and this segment was a very, very smooth transition.
Yeah.
It was great. And I say part 2 of this episode, but it was one episode.
Yeah, it's but
two parts of a whole, right?
Yeah, two parts of a whole.
It featured a guest, and that guest is one of our good friends, friend of the show, friend of all, as Gnome eloquently said it, friend of all of the Cincinnati Craft Beer podcasts.
Yeah,
Lee.
The
one and only Lee. He met up with Lee down at Danger Wheel. I don't want to say...
You met up with Lee also.
I met up with Lee on... Yeah, so, yeah, there were...
Well, we have a button for
things.
Lee.
We do have a button for Lee.
Lee, say hi to everyone. Shit.
Damn straight.
There you go.
That is the best button. Although I will say, we do have the other button, which is...
the B&BCs.
The B&BCs.
Shit.
With the woo, because that's what the B&BC said he wanted for his button, so I made it happen. And you know what? While we're pushing buttons in honor of Shift Beers,
I love bananas.
There you go.
There you go.
Perfect.
We got it.
Perfect
all the buttons.
segue between the first part of the show, the podcast sponsor, and then now going into the second part.
It really is. So I don't want to say that I made this part of the podcast happen, but I kind of made this part of the podcast happen. The Gnome had posted that he was going to be at Danger Wheel and was looking for someone to kind of help, do a segment, do a Cincy Brewcast episode down there. And I had been messaging with Lee about just other stuff, the FC Cincinnati games, just random beer things. And I said, hey, you should reach out to Gnome. He's looking for someone to record down at Danger Wheel with. If you're planning on being down there, you should totally do this. And he went, okay. And look what happened. It was a great conversation between the Gnome and Lee at Danger Wheel. Gnome had said a bunch of times, both in the beginning of the episode, before this section of the podcast, that it was so loud, the volume's awful, I'm sorry. The volume was fine.
Yeah, it was totally fine.
I could understand both the Gnome and Lee perfectly fine. You could tell that they were at a very loud event.
Yeah.
But it didn't sound like they were not drowned out by the Danger Wheel crowd at all. So it was great. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it turned out fine. It turned out as far as the audio quality, it was absolutely okay.
Sure,
no problem at all. Not like that episode that he recorded in the underground tunnel at that was Christian Moorline at the Malt House. That he recorded with Meisel. Jesus, that was
a different
awful. The audio on that was awful.
Although you and I, from experience, when we recorded at Mad Tree, we thought, oh my God, this is so loud. This is going to be unlistenable.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was okay.
No, it's fine.
You could tell it was at a loud event, but it was not... It was fine. It was perfectly fine to listen to.
Yeah.
So if you hear that part, if you somehow start this episode of Cincy Brewcast and go, oh, this is going to be loud, and then you come to our show, listen to it. It's not
it's fine.
loud. It's fine. It's perfectly fine.
It's totally okay. It's worth sticking with it.
Oh, 100%. Yes. So they covered Lee's journey into beer and working for one of the biggest breweries in the area, which is really, really cool. Still cannot believe that Lee didn't keep enough contacts to bring us Center Twix, but I mean, it's okay. I forgive him. He has an amazing dog, so that covers up for any ills that Lee might do.
So explain what to our listeners. Locally, they may know. Locally, they may not know. But for those who listen abroad or all over the place, tell them what Danger Wheel is to get them interested in the fact that they need to listen to what's happening.
So Danger Wheel is an event that takes place in Pendleton, which is kind of between downtown and over the Rhine in Cincinnati. It is down one of the main roads, one of the main hills in the Pendleton area. It is an adult downhill big wheel racing competition. So you have teams of 3. You have 2 pushers and 1 rider. It's a lot of the local breweries that form teams, a lot of the local Cincinnati companies that form teams, just individuals forming teams that go head to head. There are ramps. There are rounds or brackets that both riders are blindfolded. They have inflatables in some of the rounds that they have to ride through. All the audience, like everyone lining the streets to watch this, can purchase water balloons to throw without any, regard for safety at the riders going down the hill.
Sounds amazing.
The riders wipe out. They get pelted with water balloons because they're easy targets. It is ridiculous. There are vendors, there are beer vendors, there's food vendors, there are merchandise vendors. You can buy a Danger Wheel shirt, hat. Braxton Cincinnati is always one of the key sponsors because they're located at the top of the hill that this takes place on. It is one of the most fun events that isn't necessarily a beer event, but without beer, as they talked about in this episode,
Right.
I don't think it would be as fun as it is.
Sure.
And the participation of all the local breweries makes it that much better.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I want to go.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
I don't want
next
to
year,
participate as a anybody in a big wheel, but I would.
What
love
about
to,
a pusher?
I don't know
No?
about that.
Okay,
I don't know.
that's fair.
I don't know about that. I mean, the risk to damage myself is still present.
I mean,
there.
your shoulder's still fucked up from beer, booze, bonks, boinks, spits, bobcats, and boobs. So
Yeah, I know.
I hear
it's
you.
boobs
I hear
actually
ya.
that fucked it up.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I'll
talk about
that'll
it
be Truth Beer Pod After Dark.
offline.
Well, offline, absolutely,
Yeah, offline.
absolutely. They had a really cool conversation that tied back to a couple of Cincy Brewcast episodes ago, where Gnome was asking Lee what makes a craft brew, or I'm sorry, what makes a brewery a craft brewery versus just a brewery. And I'm using air quotes for those of you not, watching the Patreon live stream. Hi guys,
Right
waving
over
at the
there.
camera. It's all good. And for Lee, his answer was really cool. It was any brewery that has all the adjuncts. Every single beer needs to have a whole bunch of shit thrown into it. And for him, that's what makes a brewery a craft brewery.
Lee loves that shit.
Oh my God, he
I mean,
does.
he
It was
just-
yeah.
Yeah, just taking it in, just gobbles.
He just, it's, yeah, you said it. You said it
Yeah,
perfectly.
goblins.
Goblins? Anyway, we're gonna try to keep this on the rails for now.
Okay.
Really good discussion about how places like Northern Row and Sonder are expanding, how they're figuring out expansion. Is that
Right.
new tap rooms? Is that adding a beer garden? Is that putting in more tanks for like quantity? And it's all kinds of different things. Like for the example, one of the examples they use for Sonder Brewing, they set up what sounds like, and I haven't been up there since they've put it in,
Well,
an
let's go.
amazing beer garden. Sure, let's do it. To where when they're busy in the tap room, they have a neon sign right in front of the front door that says beer garden is open, which means you go to like the
it's-
huge tent out
It's
back.
once you
and
get in. It's once you
So you
get
go
in,
in? Okay.
like in the
like
at
that
least.
foyer.
Oh, is that French?
That is French. You like that?
Yeah. And then once you get in, there's a wall just past the food option, and I think that is lit to say, "Hey, beer garden open."
Very cool.
And then they have beer garden with artificial turf, and they have a tent.
Huge tent, yeah.
And then they have the refrigerated trailer where the bar
Yeah.
is there.
It
Yeah.
sounds awesome. We should definitely head on up there soon. But this was a really cool episode of Cincy Brewcast. I like the fact that it was I keep saying two-parter. It wasn't two parts. It was just two chapters of the same story.
Right.
He broke it up to where he still had a...
They were all under the same sack.
It was all... Yes.
The same umbrella. They were together.
Right, but there was
But
there was
separate
one
at the
major
same
shaft
time.
that kept everything upright.
Yeah.
That kept it good. I think that he did a very good job of keeping the content of both the Danger Wheel segment with Lee and the Oktoberfest Quest segment like trimmed down enough to where you could really see it was all laid bare. Like it wasn't
Sure.
something to where you felt that he was trying to hide the forest for the trees as far as, oh, this was all one single recording episode. You knew it was two separate parts to the bigger whole
Yeah.
of the episode. I don't know.
It worked well.
It worked really well.
Yeah,
and I
it-
think
and-
I think that was awesome that he was able to do that rather than feel the pressure of, I was only able to record this smaller length episode, or the smaller length segment.
Right.
I want to have more length to add to the show to make it feel like a full episode.
Well, we know
so
that-
he
that-
plugged the two together,
And
it
it's
worked.
fine. I mean,
It
whatever way he
worked.
wants to do it, we know the length of it doesn't really necessarily matter.
No, it's all in how he uses it.
Correct.
Yeah, Cincy Brewcast.
All right.
Oktoberfest Quest and Danger Wheel.
Good job.
A lot of fun. Definitely check it out. Support his sponsor. Listen to the episode. Find out who his sponsor is. Spend your money there. And just feel fresh.
Yeah.
May or may not tie into it. You'll have to listen to find out.
That's correct.
All right, Marco, you, I think, need another beer. It's kind of hard to tell with your Mug Club mug, but it looks like you may be ready for another beer.
I am.
And we have the last show to recap, which is our favorite. So take a real quick break, get a refill, and then let's dive into shift beers. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We'll be right back, guys. All right. We are back for our last podcast of this particular episode. And that's one of our favorite fun podcasts to recap.
Shift beers.
Shift beers. And this one has one of our favorite podcast guests outside of Lee. Lee is in his own category.
Right.
On this one. This was episode 92, Ciders with Mitch. Mitch was from another local brewery before he made the amazing transition to working for a local record shop. Not just a record shop. They sign artists, record label. Absolutely amazing. Coal Mine Records. Check them out. Platinum Records is the storefront down in Loveland, Ohio. This show was all about cider and cider accessories, which I had to ask, what is a cider accessory? How does it differ from a beer accessory? But again, like, is there something, a coaster? No coasters with beer, but coasters with ciders because they're fancier?
Maybe it's the other way around, where there's not
Could
coasters
be.
with cider.
Oh. We have questions. Shift Beers had no answers.
What's up, B&BCs?
What is up, producer Brian? How you doing?
Great.
Good. Did you listen to your bonus episode from our live show?
No. No, he didn't.
Well, you know,
I wanted to listen to it. I was looking for it. Where can I find
it's
it?
anywhere you find podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube,
I find them on websites.
truthbeerpod.com.
Perfect.
There you go. There you go. It seems like producer Brian's having a good night.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is all smiles, all grins, and we cannot thank him enough for just letting him do what we do here at his establishment.
That's right.
Yeah. So Shift Beers and Mitch and Cider. I love these episodes because the experience. This might sound weird, but if you've listened to more than one episode of Shift Beers, it'll make sense. The experiences that they have with trying and drinking these ciders versus beers is completely different.
Well, it is.
It is, right.
Because it
right,
is different.
Because it is different. But it's really cool that they had so many, and they weren't all 1911 ciders like the last time Mitch was on. They were actually questioning if it was his second, third appearance, that kind of stuff. Oh, Producer Ben, are you out?
Producer Ben.
Good seeing you, man. Producer Ben is awesome. He poured me my beer, which we did not talk about. We both have new beers.
Oh, yeah.
So we need to do this. Producer Ben poured my beer for me, even though he wasn't really on the schedule for today. So thank you to him.
Came in special just to do that.
He did. He came in and he went, Julia, I know that you're going to need a beer, and I do the best pours of anyone that works here at BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery. What do you want? And I said, you are right, Ben. I would like a Rainbow Road IPA from 50 West, and it is wonderful. You had producer Brian pour your beer for you.
Yeah, it
what
is,
did he do for you?
Hop JuJu from Fatheads.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a
so
good one.
good. It's my jam.
Very good. Very good, very solid. Back to Shift Beers because, I mean, again, we're a craft beer podcast. We want to make sure you guys know what we're drinking. So apologies for the slight deviation in the recap, but beer is important.
Yes.
Yes. This was Mitch's third time on Shift Beers. I actually looked back through everything. His first Shift Beers appearance was on February 7th of 2021, episode 20, Shift Ciders, which is cool because I was on episode 21, so the very next week. So that was cool to look back on. And his second appearance on Shift Beers was episode 53, the Fall Beer Show, a.k.a. Everything Pumpkin Beer, which also included a call to Sean White of Nostalgia Brewing.
Nice.
Who Sean is absolutely amazing. He is such a cool guy. Nostalgia Brewing is such an amazing brewery up out in Gahanna. I think I'm saying this right.
Gahanna?
I'm never sure. Gahanna, Ohio. slightly north of Columbus. We need to make a road trip up there.
We do.
We just need to figure out when our schedules with your 37 different jobs will allow it.
Right.
And Sean, we will be up there sometime, hopefully soon-ish.
Right.
And when I come up, I am bringing my can of Braxton's Pumpkin Spice Vibe from 20 whatever year they first released that.
I took that into the brewery. It sat in the brewery for like a year, and then we finally cracked it and had it.
Yeah, but was it that same year? Or did you...
No, it wasn't the same year because it comes out for...
but they haven't
right before
done
Thanksgiving.
it. They haven't done it recently, though. So.
No, but that's my point. Is
Yeah,
it, so
I
when
get it.
the last time it came out, I had it and I took it to the brewery and it stayed in the cooler for a long time, and then we wound up just having it to. It was like
Get rid of it.
Cooler, like a cooler dump.
So this is Mitch's third appearance on Shift Beers. I want to say it's their most frequent guest. I don't think anyone's
been
been
on
on the
twice.
show. Right, so I don't think anyone's been on the show
Yeah.
more than Mitch yet. You need to break that streak just because I have a bias towards you being the most frequent guest on Shift Beers. Which is really funny. Speaking of, you know how Shift Beers episodes go. Their episode is done before ours is.
Right.
The quality of they're doing a weird, I don't want to call them a gap episode, but they're kind of banking some of their episodes because what you and I do, it relies on the week prior. We have to be current with what our podcast does.
Yes.
Theirs does not. I don't know what episode they just recorded, but whatever episode it was, it's going to be a short one.
Yep.
Yep. But that's fine. That's cool.
That's fine because this one was long.
Oh, it was very long, but it was good. It was
good.
so good.
But it was an hour
Mitch
and 40 minutes, hour and 43 minutes.
Yeah, hour 44
Something like
is what my podcast thing says, but I think that rounds up. But it was a lot of really, really amazing conversations. So to dig right into the episode, because we don't have unlimited time, and we want to sit here and drink and enjoy BCs while we're here. Let's
More
see.
on that to come.
Mitch gave a Cincinnati entertainment tip. Go to Parky's Farm in Winton Woods
Oh, that's right.
and ask for clay.
Yep.
That is something that I am going to do.
You can do it?
I'm going to do it.
Nice.
I may or may not take pictures. I'm probably going to take pictures of when it happens.
Yeah.
But listen to this episode and find out why you need to go to Parky's Farm and ask for clay.
I was thinking about doing
It
that.
was very cool. Yeah. Have you been to Parky's Farm?
Oh, it's been a long time.
Long time. Yeah.
Yeah, when my kids were little.
Okay.
My kids are adults now.
I went to Parky's Farm for the first time at a family reunion at one of the shelters nearby. Like it was within sight distance of Parky's Farm.
Okay.
So I walked over, so it wasn't during normal Parky's Farm hours. Really, really cool. I really enjoyed it. So thank you, Mitch, for
Excellent.
that Cincinnati entertainment
Excellent tip.
Really, really liked that one. They had a ton of amazing sounding ciders on the show. I've had two of them, and that is thanks to Shift Beers when I stopped by the place that they don't work out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I gave them a few beers, one of which they drank it at the end of this show.
Yep.
There was a lot of chaos going on, so you kind of didn't hear too much about it, which is cool, but it sounded like they enjoyed it. But Brian, the button, was kind enough to say, oh, hey, here's some from one of our recent shows. So I had the blue slushy cider, which was, I agree with it. It was good, but it was so incredibly sweet that I did not want the entire can of it.
Full
But it was
disclosure,
good.
Julia offered that to me.
I did.
And I said,
you went,
no.
No. I'm like, hey, this is what Shift Beers gave me. A whole bunch of non-alcoholic beers, a whole bunch of all-American beers, a.k.a. different Bud variants, and some ciders. And also the, I think it was Newtopia, the Clementine cider, which was pretty good.
Okay.
That was
Good.
that was actually very delicious. Mitch narrating himself drinking ciders is amazing. That's one of those things where you think, oh, he's describing himself doing something that's going to be pretentious. That's going to be, we don't want to hear that. No, you want Mitch
That's fun.
to talk about himself doing things.
Yeah, it was fun.
It works. It fits so incredibly well. I loved it. I loved it. This episode you can find out who Brian, with a Y, calls Daddy.
Yes, that's right.
There was definitely a part
Thank
of
you,
this
Brian.
episode. Yeah, look, we're side eyeing him
looking at him.
as he and Jangle are sitting at
Thank
the
you, Brian.
bar. But he almost slipped. He almost said it, and
Right.
and everyone caught it. Everyone in recording caught it. The listeners of the show caught it. Brian has a daddy, and now if you listen to the show, you know who that daddy is.
That's right.
For better or worse.
Daddy.
I'm kind of feeling a little awkward continuing to say that over and over again.
A little zaddy.
A little.
What about a zaddy? No?
No.
Just daddy?
Just daddy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just daddy.
All right.
Gin talk. They talked a lot about gin in this
They
episode.
did. They talked a lot about gin.
Yeah.
Julie, did you go through a gin phase?
I did not.
I did.
I didn't.
I
So
did.
you? What was your gin phase? A good phase or a bad phase?
I was fine.
Okay.
It was fine. It was in my early 20s. I was working for a company, one of these things where you actually had to get a state license to be able to do.
Okay.
And my we'll call him general manager. The general manager of this area was very close to retirement, and his alcohol beverage of choice was gin, and he just would go to everybody. He's like, "Nah, you got to drink gin. You got to have Beefeater. You got to do it. Got to have Beefeater." And so I talked to my wife. I was like, "Look, I got to get in. I got to be in."
Gotta do it.
And so I went through a phase where I had Beefeater in the freezer, ready on the rip, you know. And
What happens if you toss a blocks into some gin?
well, at that time,
I know that
Didn't
wasn't
have
a
any
thing,
blocks.
right? I understand
But
that,
today?
but today,
woo!
there we go.
Hold on, Ric Flair.
Oh,
Woo!
okay. So your impressions are so fucking good. Every single one of them. Like, I don't know. Like, for a second, I lose myself and forget who I'm sitting across when you do. You're Liam Neeson. You're Morgan Freeman. You're Ric Flair. It's amazing. Absolutely
Well, thank
amazing. To kind of pull this a little bit back,
Sure.
a lot back into shift beers.
Yeah, let's go.
After they talked about the ciders that they were trying, and the ciders everyone brought a little bit about gin and different potential new shift beers episodes.
Yep.
Gin-episodes. That didn't sound right, but you know what?
It's okay.
It's okay. There was so much fun talk about music and the music industry and
That's
what
right.
Mitch does. Not a lot about what Mitch does, but about the influences he pulls from the career that he now has. We actually learned about Chris's family ties
Correct.
to an artist in Detroit that Mitch's company did not sign. Like, they were like pen hovering over the contract.
Yes.
Close to signing one of Chris from Shift Beers' like family members, bands, musical
Correct.
groups.
It's a
And
small world.
Oh my God.
It's a
It's
small
such a
world.
small world. And it was so cool to listen to them talk about it. They talked a lot about the Hall of Fame, the Music Hall of Fame up in Cleveland, and why the hell is it in Cleveland? And that got into, if you had to create a Hall of Fame, what would it be?
Right.
For shift beers, it was like a drinker's Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
They talked about the different people that can open their throats and down a pint in under 2 seconds, which,
Right.
I'm sorry, those videos almost make me gag watch. I appreciate what they're able to do, but my God,
Right.
not a good one.
Beth wanting a D&D Hall of Fame
D&D Hall of Fame.
because she likes dragons.
Yeah, who doesn't? Goblins.
Goblins and dragons.
Goblins and draglins. Draglins?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had beers. It's cool. Hey, it's better than the Dark Ambrosia.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
I'm better
Or the-
than
or
I am
the- or
better
the-
than that.
Or the band Ambrosia.
Or the band or the salad. I'm just trying
Not terrible. Actually, not a terrible dessert, by the way. I
Okay,
can't
so
have
if
any,
you-
but not terrible.
If you had to pick something to commemorate a Drinkers Hall of Fame member, what would it be? I know they were talking about, like, for golf, it's like, or, football, baseball. It's a jacket. It's this. It's that. If you had to pick something to induct a person to a Drinkers Hall of Fame, what would that item, that piece of clothing, that trophy, whatever you say, what would it be? Because I had something in mind while they were talking. I'm curious to see if you were thinking the same thing that I was thinking.
Gosh, there's so much you could choose from, but
It's true.
It almost depends on the genre of drinker, right? I mean, you've got liquor drinkers, cocktail drinkers, you got beer drinkers, cider drinkers, wine drinkers. I guess it's so. I guess I'll go very generic. If someone said, "Oh, they go in the Drinkers Hall of Fame," and that's the only context that you have, is there something that you would picture would be a physical manifestation of Drinker Hall of Fame? That may not make sense, but hopefully you see what I'm trying to... Maybe a golden trophy of Andre the Giant.
Okay.
Like the Andre the Giant Award.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. My thought was a gold-plated, like the beer hat, like the like hard hat with the two cans of beer on the side with the straw going into your mouth. Like a gold-plated one of those is what I thought would be the Drinkers Hall of Fame. You know, instead of getting a gold jacket or a green jacket or whatever, you get that helmet placed on your head.
It's nice.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's nice.
I don't know. Just my thoughts. Mitch, we miss you too.
Yeah, Mitch, thanks.
Thank you for remembering us.
Yeah, remembering us, the kind words, the shout out. Truly appreciate it.
Yes, I actually stopped by Playroom Records with my mom a couple weeks ago. Okay, here's a question for you, something that they got into later in the episode.
Sure.
Have you ever had a Funyun?
Oh, God.
Not a trick question, like a legit...
It's not a trick question. This isn't a double entendre.
No, not at all.
No, an actual Funyun. That maybe 20, 25 years ago. Okay. I don't know. I mean, maybe.
I am on Team Mitch. I have never had one. I don't like onions.
So I'm not ruling out the possibility, but
okay.
I can't remember if I did. So I'm going to say I probably tried them once.
Right. Like, I do not like onions at all. So why would I ever pick even though I understand that Funyuns aren't really onions. Like, I understand.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. Did I just blow your mind on that one?
Whoa.
Oh. It's basically deep fried breading that has, like, I guess, onion flavor-ish. I don't even know what the hell they are. Because I hear the yun and I'm going, yun? I'm not doing it. Not doing it at all. So I am on Team Mitch as far as no Funyuns. Though the Dorito challenge that they did, where they were trying to bite the Dorito, like, lengthwise, like, so the thin parts between your teeth as you bite down, it was giving me goosebumps thinking about the stabbing of the Doritos into your gums. Right. So, pro tip, if you listen to this episode near the end, as they're starting to do all the crunching and all the crunching, just be careful. They describe some Dorito sideways biting, and it's, I don't know, wasn't sure about that. Shout out to Jangle, who is sitting at the bar, down from us, with a phrase that he used that was completely incorrect. And this was me screaming out at my phone at work, as I do during their episode.
When you need to,
it's kind of like trivia stuff. It's like, that's
straight.
not right. He kept saying, money is no option. When they said, if you could open any Hall of Fame, and I'm like...
Yeah, he's like, money's no option.
I'm like, dude, the fuck are you talking about? Money is no object.
Yeah. Money's no object.
Object. They start with the same letter, but they are not the same thing. Be better. Be better, be better, be better.
The phrase, I could care less, comes to mind.
Yes.
It's like, well, that means you could actually care less.
Yes.
You do care some.
You couldn't care less.
Correct.
That means you have no more cares to
I've got
give.
all the cares.
I'm telling you.
Done with all the cares.
I'm telling you. Let's see. I only have two other notes before we get to the best
the
part of our
same two
recap.
that I have.
Probably. So I'm going to do my last note first, and then my second to last, because it's a question for you.
Okay. All
based
right. Well,
on
then
this episode.
So then maybe this next one is the one that I have.
Okay. Check out the Spotify playlist, This is Coal Mine Records, to listen to the to all of the amazing, amazing artists that Coal Mine Records, and I'm just saying by default, Mitch, that they have signed, that they promote, that they support. They do amazing, amazing things with amazing artists. And so this Spotify playlist, this is Coal Mine, COLEMINE Records, is awesome. Check it out. Listen to it. And then the last note that I had before the burp count was, Marco, this is directly at you. Marco, what is your Hall of Fame? If you could create any, if money was no object, option, what Hall of Fame would you like to have?
Wow. I should have anticipated this question. I didn't.
You know me better than this by now.
I didn't. What is my Hall of Fame?
I mean, and it doesn't need to be you specifically, but what is something that you think could have a Hall of Fame around it? So it doesn't need to be super deep and super, like music, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame. It can just be something like what Shipbeer says, the Drinking Hall of Fame. It can just be a very general idea, but what is something that you feel has enough of a presence around it that it could have a Hall of Fame? In the silence while I am drinking my beer, while Marco is thinking.
As much as we are a podcast that recaps craft beer podcasts and tries to put a little humor or satire into things, the very, very first thing that comes to mind is a very serious subject, a very serious topic. My Hall of Fame would be just ways at how amazing my wife is.
That's awesome.
That just immediately came to mind.
That's awesome.
I love it. From the time when we met together, because I married my high school sweetheart. So the time we got together all the way through today, the way, she continues to not just support me in the things that I do, but how amazing she is and has been along the way. That comes to mind, where if I could put samples, if we're inducting her into a Hall of Fame, just the times and stories and things that I could tell about her just being truly outstanding and amazing, that's what comes to my mind. So I'm sorry.
That's fucking awesome. No, I love that. I love that.
That's what comes to mind.
And I don't, not that I know Rachel super well, but just the few times that I've met her, what you have told me, I get it. And she is the most supportive and amazing spouse, and I'm 100% behind it. Let's create the Rachel Hall of Fame for everything amazing, not even just for you, but for the family, for her career. Just, I'm in.
Well, yeah, and
does she get a gold jacket? What would she get for being inducted into the Rachel Hall of Fame?
We actually have a picture
Golden crown.
where she had a gold sequence. She had a gold sequence blouse, and then I had a gold sequence jacket. We have a picture,
that's awesome.
We have a picture of the two of us in gold sequence.
I love it.
Which was fun. Have you ever seen that picture?
Was that? I think you sent that to me.
Yeah, I think
that
I
was
did.
I don't want to say recent, but it was like New Year's or something.
It was a Christmas party.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did get that.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And,
that is perfect.
So, yeah.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I don't try to ever get extremely, personal on this,
but the Wife Hall of Fame.
funny show that we do, but that's just the first thing that came to mind. So,
that's fantastic.
There we go.
Well, I mean, my Hall of Fame is.
I didn't ask.
Not quite out. It's fine.
No,
it's cool. I'm just gonna say
joking.
it.
Go
I
ahead,
don't
do
care.
it.
I don't care if you ask or
You
not.
shouldn't
I'm
care.
telling you.
You should just tell us. Damn it.
Mine is. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but some type of like hiking Hall of Fame, because getting out in the woods and hiking and just being surrounded by nothing but nature is where I'm able to really let my mind kind of relax and just both not think about anything and think about everything all at the same time, but it doesn't
So are they
overwhelm me.
hiking trails, like favorite hiking trails?
See, and that's what I'm not sure. Like when I thought, what would my Hall of Fame be? The first thing that popped into my head was the word hiking. So I don't know. I haven't really gotten too granular with it, with what that would be. But hiking, it means so much to me, and just being surrounded by nature, the woods, grasslands, all that stuff, just something. I haven't narrowed it down as much as you have, as Shift Beers has, as Mitch has.
I haven't nailed. I mean, it's just the first thing that came to my mind.
So I don't know, but I feel like the induction into whatever the hiking Hall of Fame entails would be like a crown of like cedar and like spruce boughs. You know,
okay, I got you. So, by the way, before we get into the burp count and the drinking game, after recording last week, we went to the bar diagonally in the street.
We did,
and that's a dive bar.
Did I tell you what she ended up charging me? Because I picked up like all of the beer that you drank.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But anyway, one thing, and all these things that sort of are strange and weird and connect us, like we have a couple of we share the same birthday and all that, and we follow a lady. Her name's Amelia Boone.
Amazing
and
woman.
I followed her for years because she's an amazing lady in that she's one of the most decorated obstacle course racers. Female obstacle course racers, and I used to do that and be in that. And,
As
and
did I, which is another weird connection.
That's a weird connection. And I followed Amelia Boone, and while we were at that dive bar last week, and you're like, you follow Amelia Boone. I follow Amelia Boone.
Because you either liked or reshared one of her posts, and I'm thinking, how the hell do you know who Amelia Boone is? This is so weird. This is really cool.
And then I'm so happy for Julia and slightly jealous because Julia has this amazing picture of her and just an absolutely ripped Amelia Boone standing next to her.
Yep. But Amelia is an absolutely amazing woman. When we were talking, I'm like, how do you know? Why do you follow Amelia? How do you know who she is? And I'm like, I have a picture of her from like 2013, 2014. And it was the most ridiculous, like, additional connection that you and I have. It's such a small world.
Yeah.
We were meant to meet each other and to do this and to just have the best time.
Just have a good time doing this and keep finding out the weird connections that we have.
So what do you say about the Shift Beers burp count? What do you want to... let's do that because let's wrap this show up.
Let's wrap it up because I know that Button Brian's here. He's got
we want to hang out with Button Brian and Jangle.
He's got a curfew coming up very, very soon, very quickly.
There are still a lot of middle fingers that he needs to give the both of us.
I'm just going to say, here we go. We're going to lead into it. And it's the Shift Beers burp count.
Which, if you don't know what it is, listen to some of our previous episodes or listen to Shift Beers. They actually do a really good job of describing what it is without us having to do it. This episode of Shift Beers, we actually had a first. This was pretty cool. It is the first time that we have ever had the same number of burps as the previous episode.
This has never happened before.
No, never. And I even listened to this episode twice to make sure I didn't miscount because, I don't have anything.
You have a counter now.
I have the clicker, which is freaking thank you to both the Gnome and to Shift Beers for our clickers. I listened to it twice because I'm like, there's no fucking way that they had the same number of burps 2 weeks in a row.
44 minutes.
Yeah, but Ciders, with Mitch, with some of their guests, they do more talking than burping, so understandable.
Yeah.
This episode 92 of Shift Beers, Ciders with Mitch, had the same number of burps as the previous episode, which was Christmas in August.
The exact same previous episode?
I listened to this episode twice to make sure I wasn't miscounting.
Oh,
it is the same number.
Shit.
This episode... Oh, hold on. Do you want Brian or Lee?
Lee.
Lee. All right.
Shit.
There we go. 37 burps, which for an average of 2 ounces per sip per drink of liquid, 74 ounces, which means in this episode of Shift Beers, you only would have needed to consume 4.625 pints of beer, of water, of tea, of whatever your beverage of choice is. So,
all right.
Good job on having a first.
There you go.
Shift Beers. That's
Way
awesome.
To go. That is awesome.
Hell yeah. So shout out to Shift Beers, shout out to Mitch, shout out to everyone who has been involved in any of the podcasts that we cover. And I guess this is going to be a slightly longer outro this week. We have a little extra stuff to say and to thank people for. So I'm gonna wrap up my little segment with kind of the usual. Thank you so much for listening, following, subscribing, liking, sharing, reviewing, all that good stuff. Please follow us on social media at Truth Beer Pod. We're trying to get better about posting more frequently to social media. All of our episodes are posted to YouTube, so search for Truth Beer Pod on YouTube and you can listen to them there. If you have anything you'd like to tell us that's longer than social media, email us, truthbeerpod@gmail.com. Any complaints for the show, however, go to @RagingHop on Twitter. He will let us know about the best, the worst, the good, the bad, everything you tell him. And if you would like to send us a couple bucks to buy some more beer, to get some more equipment for possibly travel shows and additional things that we want to do, truthbeerpod.com. There's a big blue support us link. You can send us a couple bucks that way. We appreciate every dollar we have been sent so far, and we'll appreciate and shout out every dollar we get going forward. Marco.
Okay.
This is
smacked into the microphone.
Smacked into it, yeah.
Not a professional. So
one of these days we'll learn.
We had our live Truth Beer Pod from here at BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery.
Yes.
Recapping how BC's Bottle Lodge is switching to BC's Brewing Company.
Correct.
Which they made the decision to not renew the lease here at the Montgomery.
BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery, yes.
So they are closing.
Correct.
Our podcast home is going to close, and their last day open will be this coming Sunday, the 14th
of August. Which this episode will be out. If I have the time, I'm going to try to get this episode out on Thursday.
Okay.
So that you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to come to BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery and help them kick all of their kegs.
Yeah.
Their Liberty location's going to remain open, and once the brewery's open in Mason, that's going to be there as well. But the Montgomery location is not going to be a thing any longer.
So they say it's not goodbye. It's just until next time, basically. They're going to shut this location down.
Yep.
Made financial sense to not keep this open, and with owning a building or having to pay a mortgage on another building, in Mason. And so we are going to record from somewhere else.
Correct.
For the future, what that means is, we have a lot of options.
We do. We have a lot of options. We have a lot of amazing people that have offered us the opportunity to record at their spaces. We might be a little nomadic for a bit while we try to find the best location.
I know that I can tell all of our listeners that we will be at Higher Gravity Summit Park next week.
Absolutely, yes.
And
yes.
They've been very warm and welcoming to us.
I do have to ask, is Annie going to be there on Tuesdays? It is Margarita Tuesday.
It is Margarita Tuesday. Annie has got a lot going on in her personal life.
She does. She does.
And so
I just have to say, Annie is my favorite margarita maker. She is amazing. So if you ever see her at Higher Gravity, give her all the props.
Look,
give her all the tips.
I'll give her that, but I make some damn good money.
You haven't made one for me yet, so that is still to be determined.
To be determined. I understand.
That's okay.
So we're going to be at Higher Gravity Summit Park next week, and then we may be there the next week, or be a little nomadic. We might travel around. We've got an exciting announcement coming up soon.
Yes.
So
yes.
About a future show. So stick with us there, and we wish all of the ownership group at BC's, because it's Brian, Caleb, and then they have a collection of full-time associates, and of course they have a whole slew of ownership and investors and whatnot. We wish them the very best.
Oh, absolutely.
And once BC's Bottle Lodge or BC's Brewing Company comes up, I could see us doing at least an episode from there to shout out the congratulations to the brewery. But this spot that we've been recording at for a year and have been meeting at for over a year is going to close.
Yes. And I cannot thank I'll just say the ownership group, everyone who works and is part of the BC's family knows how much we appreciate, but for letting us record here on a weekly basis, for letting us take over an entire 6-foot-ish table with all of our podcasting equipment. They let us stay until close and past close so we can do what we're doing for everyone here. It has been the most amazing year plus here at BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery. So it's definitely not the end of anything for our relationship with BC's. Just due to location, I don't think it's going to work out for us to go up to Liberty all the time.
Yeah.
But we're going to do what we can, and
Sure.
And I cannot thank BC's enough for everything that they've done for us and for all the opportunities that they've given to us, but for live shows, recording weekly, stopping in randomly to celebrate, the Bengals making it to the Super Bowl.
Oh, that was awesome.
All kinds of amazing experiences here, and
Really fantastic.
And hopefully whoever comes into this space, the good JuJu that we have all left in this particular room, hopefully it will give the new tenants just as much luck and well-being as it has us.
Yeah, hopefully so. So, Julia, what are you going to be doing next week? I think we just told the people we're going to be at Higher Gravity Summit
Yes.
Park next week.
But we are also going to be talking about the past week's Cincinnati Craft Beer Podcast, drinking a whole bunch of delicious
Yeah.
beers. I've had beers. We are going to be drinking a whole bunch of delicious craft beers, and I'm going to be talking about them with you. What do you say, Marco?
Can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great. We will see you guys next week. Have an amazing time. And come to BC's Bottle Lodge anytime between when this episode releases and Sunday, August 14th to kick their kegs and wish them well in their Liberty location. We'll see you soon. Bye.
We have been putting something at the end of our episodes, and I think it's very important. And there was a Facebook post about a very unfortunate passing, and I can't stress enough that we need to look out for each other. And unfortunately, there was a lot of unfortunate events in this person's life that was in the Cincinnati craft beer circle, and they are not with us any longer. This lead into our public service just discussion is it's just something I think that everybody needs to keep in mind. It doesn't have to be in the back of your mind, doesn't have to be in the front. It's just keep in mind. Check in with your friends, check in with your family, and if people need help, if people need assistance, let's help them get that. Hey everyone, this is Marco with Truth Beer and Podsequences. I'm here with Julia, and want to talk to everyone who's in our reach, our listening voice, and let you know that you are important, and that tomorrow is the opportunity for great things. And so if you're struggling, if you have a rough day, if you are struggling with mental illness, mental issues, there are people, if not in your life or your circle, there are people out there to help you get through that. Whether it doesn't matter the industry you're in, food service, retail, anything, whatever it is, all of us have ups and downs, and it's important that all of you know that life is worth living, and tomorrow brings opportunity. And so with that being said, Julia has some information that she'd like to share.
Yeah, if you're struggling in any way mentally, if you're just having a really bad day, if you've been struggling with negative thoughts or feeling that you need help in some form and you don't feel comfortable talking to a friend, a family, a coworker, someone from any organization that you're part of, there are people out there that you can talk to, and that is the Suicide and Crisis Support Lifelines. They have a new number that just became live nationwide on July the 16th. If you are having any mental health issues or struggles and you just need to talk to someone, you can call or text 988. Which is just the same as 911, but it is purely for mental health support, 988 for any support, or you can do a chat at 988lifeline.org. You don't have to be suicidal to call or text or reach out via chat. If you have any struggles, substance abuse, economic worries or problems, relationship trouble, issues with your sexual identity, illnesses, getting over abuse, depression, being lonely, anything at all that you need to talk to someone that you feel that you don't have someone directly involved in your life that you can talk to, reach out to 988 or 988lifeline.org. There is a counselor available to just talk to you and just let you know that you matter and that tomorrow will be a better day. Go ahead and reach out to them because we want you to be around to listen to us next week and beyond because you matter and we love you and we want you to be a part of this amazing world no matter how bad today may seem. We love you.